This is the closing argument of from Bella, and he's explaining how the process that he makes these gorgeous paintings.
So basically, they're little bits of wood, leftovers from Ian's workshop, that I put together into just a composition until it felt more or less right, without too much of a plan. But then, when photographing them, it's actually, for these, probably 50 or so 10-second exposures on each of them in a dark studio. And for each 10-second exposure, the camera's sitting on a tripod, and the shutter is just opening and closing at 10-second intervals. And for each interval, I'm illuminating the subject from a different angle with a little flashlight.
Interesting.
And then compositing all of those into a single frame, where it's like, say, 50 layers, and each layer, only the lightest parts filter through to the layer below. And then you get this composite effect where I don't actually know really what it's going to look like until I see it. Then there's an editing process as well to sort of selectively keep or discard individual layers, or even sometimes pieces of layers. And in the process, I'm intentionally introducing a lot of flaws. So there are sort of logical errors that happen. Like, for example, here with the shadows, I have a shadow going here, there should be a light source coming here, there should be other shadows going in that same direction, but there aren't. They're going in the opposite direction down here. And that sort of adds a bunch of cognitive dissonance to the composition, where your brain is trying to interpret different signals that are contradictory simultaneously. And I just sort of like what that does. It sort of twists your mind into a little bit of a pretzel. But it's also the kind of thing that would happen for example, if someone were painting a still life in a studio, and it took them all day, and during the process, the sun moved from over there to over there, and they just keep painting, and suddenly they're introducing those flaws without really thinking about it. But the sort of underlying thought behind this is rooted in quantum mechanics, which is something, sort of a side hobby that I'm trying to understand a little bit. And there's an interpretation of quantum mechanics called relational quantum mechanics, which essentially says that on the subatomic level, the quantum level, nothing actually exists until it interacts with something else. So there's no genuine underlying reality. You can't take an electron, a subatomic particle, in completely empty space where there's nothing else, and in that situation, it could not be said to actually exist. It doesn't exist in that situation. It is a potential of existence. And then once a particle of light, a photon, bumps into that electron, suddenly it exists. And I just sort of like that idea. So it's this idea of things changing by being observed, and by being observed, you can also interpret that as by interacting with something else. And so the whole structure of the universe, according to this interpretation of quantum mechanics, is built on interactions at the subatomic level, which I find kind of a very attractive sort of way of looking at the universe. And in this, it's not exactly a direct translation of that theory, but the whole structure here is built on multiple observers, where you have each beam of light can be thought of as an observer, and all the observers interact with the bits of wood, and each interaction interacts with another interaction, and it's sort of the product of all of these different interactions that eventually produce this, which is then being observed by us, and it becomes yet another type of reality. That's
complicated.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it. I guess it's time to close up.
Yep, I think we're down to the
Nitty gritty.
Yeah. Okay, that's it from the Souterrian Gallery, the Bella Selendy opening extravaganza
Or closing
in West Cornwall.
points.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.